The tallest bandit counted the money from Gerald's wallet, while his partners kept the old hiker pinned against the rock face. Blood mixed with sweat on Gerald's forehead. None of them noticed how the birds stopped singing. None of them saw how the leaves stopped moving. None of them felt the earth vibrate slightly with each approaching step. The bear had been watching for 3 full minutes. Its ancient eyes had witnessed 80 seasons of human visitors, but never had it seen this pattern of wrongness. The forest seemed to hold its breath as the massive creature made a decision that would shatter everything humans thought they knew about the wild. Just hours earlier, that same mountain trail had been a picture of perfect harmony. The Pinewood National Forest welcomed visitors from across the country with its famous hiking paths that curved gently through ancient trees and blooming wildflowers. Morning sunlight spilled through gaps in the canopy, creating warm patches on the forest floor, where small creatures gathered briefly before scurrying back to safety. The main trail stretched for 12 miles through varied terrain, offering views of the valley below at several lookout points. Hikers of all ages walked these paths daily, their colorful jackets standing out against the deep greens and browns of the wilderness. Park rangers greeted visitors at the entrance, handing out maps and friendly reminders about safety rules. Wildlife had grown accustomed to human presence over the years. Deer often paused their grazing to watch hikers pass by. Squirrels darted between trees, sometimes bold enough to approach people resting on benches. Birds sang from hidden perches, their melodies creating a natural soundtrack to the forest experience. The forest had its own rhythm, a perfect balance of movement and stillness. Water trickled in the small streams crossing the paths. Wind rustled leaves high above. Sunlight shifted slowly as the day progressed, changing the patterns of light and shadow on the ground. Regular visitors like Gerald knew the forest in all its moods across all seasons. They respected its rules and treasured its beauty. The mountain trail offered peace to those seeking escape from busy lives. It provided connection to something larger than themselves. Gerald Preston had walked the mountain trails for over 50 years. At 78, his steps were slower, but his eyes missed nothing. The forest knew him by his worn leather boots, his wooden walking stick carved with animal figures, and the faded green hat that rarely left his head. Every Tuesday and Friday, Gerald arrived at the trail entrance just as the morning mist began to lift from the valley. His love for the wilderness began in childhood when his father first brought him camping. Those early lessons in tracking animals, identifying plants, and respecting nature became the foundation of his life. After retiring as a high school science teacher, Gerald devoted even more time to his forest visits. He carried a small notebook where he recorded changes in the ecosystem, animal sightings, and his own reflections on the passing seasons. Though many friends urged him to join group hikes, Gerald preferred solitude among the trees. The quiet communion with nature restored something in him that the noise of modern life depleted. He would stop at the same fallen log each visit, eating his simple lunch while watching the forest life continue around him. The rangers made exceptions to some rules for Gerald, allowing him to venture slightly off-marked paths because they trusted his knowledge and respect for the land. That particular morning, Gerald had reluctantly joined the Mountain Seniors hiking club at his daughter's insistence. The group of 12 elderly nature enthusiasts moved too slowly for his taste, stopping frequently to take photographs and chat. During one such stop near Eagle Cliff Viewpoint, Gerald wandered ahead to observe a rare butterfly. Following its erratic flight pattern drew him further from the group than he intended. By the time the butterfly disappeared into the forest canopy, Gerald realized he had wandered onto a less traveled side path, momentarily alone in a quieter section of the forest. Gerald sat on a moss-covered rock to consult his trail map. The sounds of his hiking group had faded completely, leaving only forest whispers around him. He calculated he would need to backtrack about half a mile to rejoin them at the next rest point. As he folded his map and reached for his water bottle, 3 shadows moved between the trees ahead. The men appeared suddenly on the path. They wore dark clothes with bandanas covering the lower halves of their faces. The shortest one carried a backpack, while the others had only small waist packs. They stopped abruptly when they spotted Gerald. The tallest man nudged his companion and pointed. A silent conversation passed between them before they changed direction, moving purposefully toward the elderly hiker. Gerald felt a chill despite the warm morning. Something about their body language triggered ancient warning signals in his brain. These were not fellow hikers enjoying the forest. Their movements were too deliberate, too focused. He stood up slowly, leaning on his walking stick while scanning his surroundings. The dense undergrowth on one side and a steep slope on the other left only the path ahead and behind. The men had positioned themselves to block his route back to the main trail. The tallest bandit spoke first, asking if Gerald was alone in a tone that suggested he already knew the answer. The old man noticed how the three spread out slightly, creating a half circle that closed the distance to him. One man kept glancing back down the trail, while another reached into his pocket, revealing the glint of something metallic. Gerald gripped his walking stick tighter. His heart pounded against his ribs as he recognized the danger. In 50 years of hiking these mountains, he had encountered bears, survived unexpected storms, and once helped rescue lost children. But the predatory intent in these men's eyes was something entirely different. They moved closer, backing Gerald against a large rock face behind him. The shortest bandit demanded his backpack, while another reached for Gerald's wrist, grabbing the watch his late wife had given him on their 40th anniversary. Less than 30 yards away, partially hidden by a cluster of young pine trees, the large brown bear raised its head at the sound of unfamiliar voices. The creature had been foraging peacefully, turning over rocks to find the insects beneath. Its powerful sense of smell had already registered the humans passing on the main trail earlier, but these new scents carried something different. The bear stood on its hind legs momentarily. 7 feet of wilderness power, nostrils flaring as it processed the information carried on the gentle breeze. Fear, aggression, sweat, blood. The combination triggered an alert in the animal's primal brain. Moving with surprising silence for its massive size, the bear lowered itself and crept closer to investigate, staying downwind and using the forest cover for concealment. From its new vantage point, the bear had a clear view of the confrontation. Its deep brown eyes, far more perceptive than humans realized, tracked each movement. The bear watched as one man grabbed the elder's arm while another tore open his backpack. It observed how the older human stumbled and fell to one knee when pushed. The sound of the elderly man's pain as one bandit twisted his arm registered clearly in the bear's sensitive ears. The forest around them had gone silent, as if nature itself held its breath. No birds called. No small creatures rustled in the underbrush. Even the wind seemed to pause. In this unnatural quiet, the bear continued its observation, its massive head moving slightly to track each movement in the human confrontation. Something ancient stirred in the bear's consciousness. Over many seasons, this particular bear had grown accustomed to the older human's presence in the forest. Unlike others who moved quickly and loudly through the trees, this one moved with quiet respect, sometimes sitting motionless for hours, becoming almost part of the landscape itself. The bear's muscles tensed as it watched one bandit strike the elderly man, causing him to fall fully to the ground. The animal's heart rate increased. Its powerful front paws dug into the soft earth. The bear's usual instinct to avoid human interaction battled with something else, something inexplicable that had been building with each moment of observation. The tension in its massive body grew as the attack continued, a decision forming to defy everything known about wild animal behavior. The tallest bandit had Gerald's wallet in his hands, laughing at the meager cash inside, when something changed in the forest around them. The hair on the back of his neck stood up before his conscious mind registered why. His companions felt it too, a primitive warning signal that made them pause and look up from their victim. The bear moved from its hiding place with deliberate steps. Each massive paw landed silently on the forest floor as it emerged from the tree line. Sunlight caught its thick brown fur, highlighting the powerful muscles beneath. Steam rose from its nostrils in the cool morning air as it exhaled. Its eyes, intelligent and focused, remained fixed on the scene before it. Time seemed to slow as the bear fully revealed itself. It stood at the edge of the small clearing, its enormous size becoming apparent against the backdrop of trees. The creature's presence transformed the very atmosphere of the forest. What had been a simple robbery now existed within the realm of wild nature, where human rules held no meaning. The first bandit to notice the bear froze mid-sentence, his words dying in his throat. His sudden silence alerted the others, who turned to follow his terrified gaze. The wallet dropped from nerveless fingers. Gerald, still on the ground, felt the shift in attention and slowly looked over his shoulder. No one moved. No one breathed. The human brain, regardless of intent or character, recognizes the presence of an apex predator on a cellular level. The bandits' faces drained of color above their bandanas. One man's hand instinctively moved toward the knife on his belt, but stopped halfway, as if his body understood that any sudden movement might trigger catastrophe. The bear took another step forward, then another, its gait unhurried yet purposeful. It released a deep, rumbling sound, not quite a growl, but a vibration that seemed to resonate to the ground beneath them. Birds that had been silent suddenly took flight from distant trees, their wings flapping in panic at the predator's call. Gerald remained motionless on the ground, decades of wilderness knowledge telling him to avoid eye contact, to play dead if approached. Yet something about the bear's behavior confused him. It moved with clear intention rather than the random aggression of a surprised or threatened animal. The bandits began to back away slowly, their earlier confidence evaporating. The distance between them and Gerald increased inch by inch. The bear continued to approach, its massive body now fully in the clearing, its attention seemingly fixed not on the fallen elderly man, but on the three men who had attacked him. The bear stopped 10 feet from the group, its massive head swinging slowly from side to side as it assessed the situation. The forest held its silence, as if witnessing something unprecedented. Then, in a movement that defied all natural behavior patterns, the enormous creature stepped deliberately to the right, placing its body between Gerald and his attackers. The bandits exchanged looks of confusion and terror. This made no sense. Bears attacked humans indiscriminately or avoided them entirely. They did not position themselves as protectors. The tallest bandit took another step backward, accidentally snapping a twig beneath his boot. The sharp sound broke the frozen moment. The bear responded with frightening speed. It rose suddenly onto its hind legs, reaching its full height of nearly 8 feet. Its front paws extended outward, claws clearly visible, each one a curved instrument of natural power. The creature released a roar that seemed to shake the very ground, a primal sound that sent humans running in fear since prehistoric times. But the bear did not charge forward. Instead, it remained standing between Gerald and the bandits, its aggressive display clearly directed at the three men. The shortest bandit panicked first, turned to run down the trail. The others remained paralyzed briefly before the bear dropped to all fours again and took one powerful lunge toward them. That movement broke their remaining courage. Both men turned and fled after their companion, one of them stumbling and falling before scrambling back to his feet. The bear pursued them for several yards, stopping at the bend in the trail to ensure they continued running. Its thunderous roars echoed through the forest, ensuring the men kept moving away from the clearing. Gerald remained motionless on the ground, scarcely breathing as he witnessed the impossible. His decades of wildlife knowledge offered no explanation for what he was seeing. The bear, having driven off the attackers, turned back toward him. Gerald closed his eyes, wondering if the creature had simply been defending its territory and would now turn its aggression on him. Instead, he felt the ground vibrate as the bear approached slowly. Gerald kept his eyes shut, focusing on keeping his breathing shallow. Warm breath touched his face, carrying the wild scent of the forest predator. The bear sniffed at him carefully, moving from his head to his torso, investigating the elderly man with surprising gentleness. After what seemed an eternity, the bear stepped back. Gerald dared to open his eyes slightly. The massive creature stood 4 feet away, watching him with what appeared impossibly like concern. It made no aggressive movements. It simply stood guard, occasionally looking in the direction the bandits had fled, as if checking for their return. Lisa Chin had fallen behind her hiking group to photograph a rare spotted woodpecker when she first heard the commotion. Approaching cautiously, she crouched behind a large fallen oak at the edge of a ridge overlooking the side trail. What she saw through her camera lens made her fingers tremble so badly she nearly dropped the expensive equipment. Through her telephoto lens, Lisa captured images that would soon stun the world. The enormous bear standing protectively near the elderly man, the three retreating figures running in terror down the path. The impossible scene unfolding like something from mythology rather than modern reality. Lisa was joined moments later by another hiker, Marcus Wilson, who had also heard the disturbance. He instinctively reached for his phone to call emergency services, but paused with his finger over the dial button as he processed the bizarre tableau below. The bear was not attacking the old man. It was standing guard. Marcus began recording video, his whispered commentary capturing his shock. His hand shook so badly that much of the footage appeared blurry, but enough remained clear to document the extraordinary event. In the background of his recording, Lisa could be heard repeatedly murmuring that this was impossible, that bears did not behave this way. More members of various hiking groups gathered silently on the ridge, drawn by the commotion, and warned to stay back by those who arrived first. No one dared to send to help the elderly man, while the bear remained present. Park Ranger Samantha Torres arrived breathless after receiving radio reports of a bear encounter, only to stop in astonishment at what she witnessed. The small crowd watched in stunned silence as the bear continued its protective vigil. Some people wept quietly. Others prayed. Many simply stood with mouths open in disbelief. Several tried unsuccessfully to contact wildlife experts on their phones, desperate for someone to explain what they were seeing. Ranger Torres used her binoculars to assess Gerald's condition from a distance, relieved to see him conscious and apparently uninjured despite his ordeal. But like everyone else on that ridge, she had no protocol for this situation. Nothing in her training had prepared her for a bear that seemed to be protecting a human from other humans. Gerald remained motionless on the forest floor, scarcely daring to breathe as the massive bear stood guard nearby. His mind struggled to process what had happened. The creature that wilderness safety courses had always taught him to fear above all others had intervened to save his life. The contradiction overwhelmed his thoughts. After several minutes of vigilant protection, the bear lowered its massive head and approached Gerald again. The elderly man felt its breath warm against his skin as it sniffed at the small cut on his forehead where one of the bandits had struck him. Gerald remained perfectly still, though his racing heart surely betrayed his fear to the animal's sensitive hearing. To his amazement, the bear gently nudged his shoulder with its snout, as if encouraging him to rise. Gerald slowly, cautiously sat up, maintaining deliberate movements while avoiding direct eye contact. The bear stepped back, giving him space but remaining close enough that Gerald could count the lighter-colored rings in its deep brown eyes. With trembling hands, Gerald reached for his walking stick that had fallen nearby. Using it for support, he gradually stood up, wincing at the pain in his twisted knee. The bear watched his struggle, its head tilting slightly as if assessing his condition. For a brief moment, man and bear regarded each other, separated by species but connected by something neither could name. From the ridge above, the silent observers watched this gentle interaction with collective held breath. Their presence finally registered with the bear, which looked up toward them for the first time. Its posture changed immediately, becoming more alert, more wild. The bear gave one last look at Gerald, a moment that the old man would later describe as seeing recognition in a face completely unlike our own. Then the creature turned and moved with surprising grace back toward the forest depths. At the edge of the clearing, it paused and glanced back once, as if ensuring Gerald was truly safe, before disappearing into shadowed undergrowth. The forest sounds gradually returned. Birds began to call again. The wind rustled through leaves. But for everyone who witnessed what had happened, the world had fundamentally changed in ways they could not yet comprehend. By nightfall, video footage of the bear rescue had spread across social media platforms worldwide. The initial shaky clips captured by Marcus Wilson were soon joined by Lisa Chen's remarkable photographs, showing the bear standing guard over Gerald. News helicopters circled the national forest as television stations interrupted regular programming to report on what was being called the miracle at Pinewood. Gerald found himself surrounded by medical personnel, park officials, and reporters all clamoring for his account of the event. His daughter arrived at the ranger station in tears, alternating between scolding him for hiking alone and expressing profound gratitude that he had survived. Gerald answered questions patiently, though he admitted repeatedly that he had no explanation for why the bear had acted as it did. Wildlife experts from universities and conservation organizations flooded news programs with conflicting theories. Dr. Elaine Martinez, head of Ursine Studies at Pacific Northwest University, suggested that the bear might have perceived the bandits as territorial rivals rather than specifically protecting the elderly man. Bears sometimes displayed dominant behaviors toward perceived threats to their territory, she explained during a primetime interview. What appeared to be protection might have been coincidental. Others proposed more controversial explanations. Dr. Thomas Reynolds, who had studied bear cognition for 20 years, suggested the possibility that the bear had recognized Gerald from previous encounters in the forest. Certain bears can recognize individual humans they've seen repeatedly, he noted, though he acknowledged the protective behavior remained unprecedented. Indigenous elders from local tribes offered traditional perspectives, speaking of ancient beliefs in guardian spirit animals and the deep connection between humans who respect nature and the creatures who inhabit it. These cultural interpretations gained traction online as people search for meaning in the extraordinary event. Social media users shared their own theories alongside the viral videos. Some claimed the bear must have been previously domesticated or trained. Others suggested Gerald might have helped the bear in the past, perhaps by removing a painful thorn or sharing food. The most popular theory, repeated across platforms, was simply that animals understand more about human interactions than science had ever credited. Wildlife officials began searching for the specific bear, hoping to study its behavior further. They emphasized it should not be approached or harmed, leading to an impromptu civilian patrol of self-appointed bear guardians who camped at forest entrances to prevent trophy hunters from entering with weapons. Meanwhile, psychologists noted how desperately people seem to need to believe that nature could choose to protect the vulnerable, especially in a world that often seemed coldly indifferent to suffering. Park rangers and local police formed search parties to locate the 3 bandits who had fled into the forest. Their investigation took on unusual urgency as the community's perception of safety shifted dramatically. People who had once feared bears now worried more about human predators. Volunteers joined the search efforts, combing remote areas with determination born from their connection to Gerald's story. Meanwhile, the bear rescue became a global phenomenon. Major networks sent correspondents to Pinewood Forest, setting up camps near the visitor center. The footage played continuously on news cycles, each replay analyzed by different experts, offering new interpretations. Animal behaviorists debated whether this represented an evolutionary leap in interspecies empathy or simply an anomaly that science couldn't yet explain. The incident sparked worldwide fascination with animal intelligence. Similar stories emerged from different corners of the globe: an elephant protecting a child in Thailand, a dolphin guiding stranded swimmers to shore in Australia, a gorilla shielding a fallen zookeeper from aggressive geese. While none matched the dramatic bear rescue, together they suggested something profound about the capacity for compassion across species boundaries. Gerald Preston recovered fully from his ordeal. The forest that had been his sanctuary for decades now held new meaning. On his first return visit, accompanied by his daughter and a park ranger, he stopped at the clearing where the incident occurred. Nothing marked the spot, no plaque, no memorial, yet everything about it felt changed. Scientists never located the specific bear for further study. Motion-activated cameras occasionally captured images of large brown bears in the region, but none could be definitively identified as the one that had intervened that day. Perhaps this was fitting. Some mysteries of nature resist clinical explanation, existing instead in the realm of wonder. What remains unexplained is what the bear did next. After disappearing into the forest depths, the creature returned to its life among the trees and mountains. Did it continue its solitary existence unchanged by the encounter? Or had something awakened in its consciousness that altered its perception of humans forever? We may never know. What we do know is that the line between human and animal, once thought immutable, revealed itself as more permeable than anyone had imagined. The bear's actions reminded humanity that we are not separate from the natural world, but deeply, mysteriously connected to it. If you've been moved by this remarkable true story of unexpected connection between species, subscribe to our YouTube channel for more extraordinary animal encounters and natural wonders. Join our community of nature enthusiasts who believe there's more to the animal kingdom than science has yet discovered. Hit subscribe now to never miss another incredible story from the wild that challenges everything we think we know about the natural world.